feeling out of control. We are just humans.
Yeah, that's and I think that's where a lot of people are. I think a lot of people, we talked about the chaos earlier, and a lot of people don't understand that sometimes a little chaos is okay.
No, it's good. It's good. Fear is okay. Like, fear is absolutely necessary. And a little bit of anxiety is good because it makes you study harder for the exam, or like study the film for the next football game, or like try harder. Like, too much fear paralyzes, right? Too much anxiety is bad. No, so like chaos is good. It compels us to order.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that you just hit on something there. One of the things that we have, I think, we're failing people is by not letting them know that, some anxiety is healthy. It keeps us from doing, or hopefully making, stupid decisions sometimes. And I think that where we run into a lot of problems, or things that I've seen over the years, is where people think that, like, anxiety in general, period, is terrible. So they try to medicate it away.
Anger is the same way. It's like, don't be angry. It's like, no. Anger is a motivator to go make change. Like, we want anger. We just want to respond thoughtfully to anger, not like road rage to anger, where we're waving our pistol out the window and getting arrested for it.
It's what you do with it.
Correct.
That is the important thing. What you do with any emotion is the important thing. And I think that we do need to, and again, this for me goes back to focusing on people's strengths. Use those things to be motivating factors, rather than being like, oh man, you got anxiety, that's terrible. Like, what
what are you doing with it?
Yeah, it's like I've had people over the years that are, like, instead of, again, just because of anxiety or anger or whatever, all the things that you can't do anymore. Even veterans that I've worked with that have PTSD, it is almost like a death knell, because they have been told, oh man, this will inhibit you in all these different ways. And they buy into that, and it's paralyzing. Rather than saying, like, yeah, I may have to make modifications in the way I do things.
Or holy crap, I went through this thing and it made me this thing that I am now, and now I can use that to teach others or influence my decision making from this point forward, and they use it as a strength, right?
Yes,
because so many people didn't go through that thing. They're like, oh, I'm so unique. It's like, oh, I'm so unique, I'm beaten down. It's like, no, dude, you have something that nobody else has to bring to the table.
Yeah, and even going back, like Trey, you saying you couldn't work in the field, or you don't work in the field, whatever. Let me tell you, brother, there is nothing special about me or what I do. And this is the thing I try to tell people all the time when they're like, man, I could never go talk about. Sure you can. Put your daggum pride in the trunk, brother, and stand up and go, look, I have times where when I wake up in the morning, I do not want to get out of bed, but what I do is I put one foot on the floor and I make the other one follow. And if I can do it, you can do it, because, again, not a daggum thing special about this guy.
And Trey, so let me pile on, because we're flagellating you right now. So if I said I just can't chip to that hole. For those of you in the listening audience who don't know, Trey teaches golf. If I said no, I just can't chip, I'll never learn how to chip. I putt and I drive, and that's it. I can't chip. What would you say?
I would basically tell them that you're never going to do anything that you don't think you can. That's the biggest thing is before you take that first step into greatness, you have to believe you can be great. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for.
You nailed it. You totally finished my sentence for me. Good job.
Well, I'm here to do that. But
made my point.
I think it's interesting that when it comes down to kind of what people were talking about, right? What we're talking about right now about people is it comes from all different sides. You have the side that is the outside and the inside. If you're the person who's on the inside, you're actually the person this is happening to. You've got to break down walls. You have to let yourself be vulnerable. More importantly, you have to realize that, like you said, you're not the only person that's ever been through this. There are people that have been through this that can help you get out of that hole. There is a doorway. You just might have to have the secret handshake to find it. But there are people that know that handshake, and they're there to teach you. If you're on the outside looking in, make sure that they know that you're available. And like I said, that's the issue that I have is I want to be available to everyone. I tell everybody, look, I'm always here if you want to talk. I'm always here if you ever want to call. It's 3:00 in the morning. That's cool. But I feel awkward of saying, I noticed there was a person who was struggling in my live show, someone that was talking negatively about a month ago in the live audience. And I broke down. He was talking about how he's a former Marine as well. And I will admit that I do cry. But I broke down and started bawling live on my show. And this is a former Marine that said that his best friend died in his lap. And the only reason why he joined the Marine Corps is they went in the buddy program and he talked him into going to the Marine Corps. And then he had to watch him die in his lap and couldn't come home and face his family. And he was struggling, and he's a firearm guy. And so I broke down because I was like, holy, this is live. And there's no getting around this. We started having a conversation, and I said, please, here's my phone number. Please call me, text me, let me know. The next day I sent him a text and I said, just checking in. How you doing? And he said, there's a great organization that Jake, you probably know, and Jay, you may know of, Sarah Joy Albrecht and Genevieve Jones up in Pennsylvania, called Hold My Guns. Phenomenal. He contacted Genevieve that night and start taking the process. He's like, I'm not really sure until I get to the VA, get my medication straightened out. I need help. And he was given a path to forego his guns for 1 week because he knew that next Wednesday he was going to go down to VA to hopefully get his medication straightened out. And it was about 10 days total from when he released him to the day he got him back. And to this very day, he's a different person. And that's powerful right there. Is for someone to sit there and say, I have a problem, but I need help and I can't do it alone. And I worry that I might hurt my family. That's like the ultimate, like that was, and that happened live. And I'm sitting there crying because I didn't know, I don't know what to tell this guy except for tomorrow's a new day. I mean, and that sounds so cliche. I'm sure you guys go through that all the time, but you fight the fog to each day, get through that one day so that 9 months later you get to come home. And I told him, I said, don't worry about what happens next month, brother. You get through today. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, you say, I want to get through today. And then tomorrow morning you wake up and say, I want to get through today. And then next thing you know, it's been 3 months and life's okay. And it's kind of cool to see that guy. That was the most powerful thing I've ever seen, is live on screen. He felt comfortable enough, the people in that live audience and myself, to literally tell a story, break down, and do something about it in a 2.5 hour process. And that's something I'll never forget.
What,
so,
Trey, what in God's green earth made you think that you couldn't do what we do as mental health practitioners then?
I honestly,
you literally did it. You saved a man's life.
Okay, well, I'll say this. I'm not sure that I could mentally handle a day-to-day where, and you'd said before.
Well, how'd you handle that then? Hold on, because this is important, because I think there's a lot of people listening who have the same question, right? Like, oh yeah, there was that one time that I walked my friend through this thing, right? Well, how'd you handle it?
The answer is I don't know. I guess I just listened and told him that I get it. I mean, I get it, but I guess to answer your question,
the audience can't see this because we're on Zoom, but Jay and I are like nodding and putting our hands up like, yeah, duh. And you didn't carry it on as your own. It's not your pain to carry.
yeah,
That's it. You validated the guy. You were there for him. You were there afterward. And then you let him live his life. You didn't try to live it for him.
yeah, and I guess where I would love to think that mentally I could. I think I probably could, but I guess where I was coming from when I said I don't know if I could do it is every day knowing that conversations that I have, or if I was in y'all's shoes, is going to change someone's life. I don't know if I have that in me. Honest to God, it sounds weird, but that's
if a human being has done it.
That's a lot of pressure.
If a human being has done it, it is there for human nature. Jay, what were you saying?
I was going to say, I've always, my philosophy is I have never changed another person's life. I do not have the ability to change someone else's life.
I'm shaking my head, and you can't see that on Zoom, but I'm shaking my head. You're right. We don't.
What I have the ability to do is to be there with that individual and walk with them through their journey. And kind of like, your analogy or your story about the hole, man, I'll walk with you through your journey and we'll come out the other side. Now, and you're going to grow through it. I'm going to grow through it. Your journey will not look like mine. Mine will not look like yours. But when we get to the other side, and I have had people be like, man, you really did like so much. Like, I couldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And I'm like, no, man, no, you absolutely could, because you did all the daggone work. All I did, I'm a cheerleader, man. I'm here to like encourage you to to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to put yourself out there. You talk about it. He called an organization that would help him with firearm storage. That's huge.
Yeah.
Just encouraging people, so we all three of us, we know the lethality of a firearm. And I think that just being there to encourage someone and say, it's okay if you need somebody to come and put some distance between you and those for a while. How do you think you could do that? That's part of the encouraging part of the journey, is to say, like, hey, man, I had to have a contract unofficially, like with my dad, like an agreement. You see me doing something stupid, you go to my house, take whatever you want, and when you feel like I'm ready for it, well, then we'll talk. It's just like, I think part of the other issue, and this goes back to something we talked about previously, which is where we fail veterans, is we as mental health professionals, we want to fix. Sometimes we want to, again, be prescriptive rather than letting them utilize the skills that they have to navigate their own recovery.
Yeah, it's okay for me to crap all over the idea that we didn't help somebody. We did help somebody. Like, it's okay to say, I helped you, you saved a life, because if you weren't there at that moment with the things you said, he might be dead. That's fine. What we don't want to do is take credit for the person's decisions, right? Because then we have to take credit for all their bad decisions too. So I don't want that. And I'm a little tongue in cheek in saying that, but the idea is that all we can do is shed light. And yes, we can take credit for shedding light and being there. And if you hadn't had the podcast, you hadn't had the live radio show, you yourself had not been vulnerable enough to cry with that guy, which, by the way, awesome. Don't ever apologize for crying. That's amazing. Then maybe he didn't have the permission, I guess, if I could choose a word, to be vulnerable enough back to seek that help. So of course you had a role in that. Of course you should own credit. And we want to invite other people to take the same role and to have the same credit in helping guide others. Yes, they're going to make their own choices. You can have all the podcasts, and I can have all the podcasts in the world that, invite people into this. But ultimately, if they choose to give us the finger and, make their own decisions, well, that's fine. But to deny that we had an influence is ludicrous. Otherwise, we just wouldn't do what we did. We'd go serve ourselves and not help humanity. So, listen, like, you guys have been more than gracious. I want to honor your time. It's 5:30 in the Pacific. I know it's 8:30 in the East where Jay is, and 7:30 in the Central where Trey is.